both of us.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome back to Passionate World Talk Radio Network, a wholly owned subsidiary of Global Media Network, LLC. Educate, enlighten, entertain. And tonight, this morning, wherever, we are continuing the conversation that we started last Tuesday about pollution, the different types of pollution. But in the short run, it does one thing: it will destroy us if we don't stop the madness and our bad behavior and step in and do something about it, because principally we're running out of time. You may not realize that or want to acknowledge it, but Earth, our planet, is running out of time. The dinosaurs did become extinct, and they can give you a list of the animals that have become extinct in the last 10 years. We're not talking large numbers here. 10 years. That's pretty wild. But at the same time, it needs to be discussed. And so, without further ado, let me introduce to you back again Viki Esther Chang from Singapore.
Thank you so much, Lillian. And I'm trying to get on live for the both of us. Thank you once again, and for anyone who's tuning in for the first time. This is State of Current Affairs, the state of our current affairs, with me, Viki Esther Chang, and Lillian Cauldwell, all the way from Pennsylvania, USA, and myself, Singapore. And just to introduce again our show to any new audience, either at the radio, Passionate World Talk Radio, or Facebook, or YouTube, or any of the 25 to 30 international platforms, we are here talking about the current affairs that keep us up at night. We talk about environment, we talk about business, AI, economy, inflation. That's my pet subject. I would think that these are very important issues for the Main Street people, and we take it from the perspective of the Main Street. A lot of news right now we hear from the I should say the mainstream media. They are actually divorced from the ground, out of touch with the ground. So I think what Lillian and I can bring is the voice from the ground to the rest of the world. And today we want to continue on this topic about environment, how we are polluting our environment, and the environmental pollution that impacts human and our human health. We talked about, let's recap, Lillian. We talked about last week, introduced the topic of VOC, which is called volatile organic compound, which I think a lot of us have heard of it, have heard of it. Probably your audience and your listeners, myself, my audience and my listeners, we have heard of what VOCs are. And VOCs stand for volatile organic compound. I'm going to talk a little bit about that. That's number one. I'm going to talk about formaldehyde. Formaldehyde is something I think people do hear about it in the movies, because when someone comes into your house, a robber, a murderer, the first thing they put in their white handkerchief, they do this, and then you suddenly just knock off. That's formaldehyde. All right, that knocks you off. But we have a lot of formaldehyde around us in a minuscule level that you don't die or get knocked out of your consciousness immediately. But we'll talk about formaldehyde today, and I'll talk about the third thing called off-gassing. So in the next 20 minutes, I'm going to explain what off-gassing is, VOC, formaldehyde, and I'm going to start off with this article. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are with us, you can go to the link below, or just go online and look at the news that I'm going to share. Okay, the first article is actually from Singapore. It is from Channel News Asia. Channel News Asia is the main news in Singapore, the main news outlet, the main news media. And when I say main news media, they're usually a political media, right, from the political force. Okay, the kids kept falling sick. Many Singapore homeowners seeking help for high formaldehyde levels. A cancer causing chemical was lurking among wooden cabinets and shelves in a flat, with homeowners having no clue that her family was living in danger. When Mrs. Lee and her husband moved with their toddlers in their new apartment, which was meant to be a place of refuge, it soon turned out to be a nightmare. So I'm not going to read further, but I think it sounds. If anybody look back when they move their homes, it does sound familiar. You go to a new home, and then shortly after, you start having all kinds of illnesses. You may think, oh, I'm getting old. I think I'm getting sick. It must be the food. It must be the environment. It must be a virus, or it must be a bacteria. But hey, now I'm just going to tell everyone bacteria, viruses, or things that are living around us, if they cause a disease in you, it's organic matter. They're living things. They're things that causes you sickness, diseases. But formaldehyde are chemicals. They are um, they are chemicals that come from furniture, curtains, varnishing, floor, paint, and even plastics. Even your computer, your laptop, even pages from the book because they are bleached. All right. Formaldehyde does cause a lot of cancer diseases. And when you live in a new apartment, ladies and gentlemen, because I'm in the educational sector, sometimes my students will come in sick and they will tell me, "Oh, I've been sick for two weeks. I can't come." And the first question I asked, "Have you gone through your home? Has it gone through a renovation? Have you painted your rooms? Have you got a new piece of furniture in your room?" And usually, and I can tell you 90% of the time, I am right. Because furniture like this, we take it for granted that we live with it. It's a very nice smell. We think it's mint as in it is new. But hey, it is formaldehyde. And the article goes to show and says that the children fell sick for 2 months, and one by one the people fell sick in the house. And people can succumb to different kind of diseases, which is a variable depending on what your weakest link. It could cause lung disease. It could cause kidney failure. It could cause liver failure. It could cause just different kinds of big migraines. It could cause your skin to just scratch, breakouts. It could cause you to have nauseous. It could cause stomach upset, and it could even cause you to have colon diseases, esophagus problems. You can have throat problems. You could have breakouts in your tongue. Um, Depends on where the weakest link is, and depends on the intensity of the chemical. Now, formaldehyde is something really, really dangerous. Like what I just said, in the olden days, in the black and white movies, right? When someone comes in, they want to knock you off. They put a white piece of handkerchief, right, Lillian? And they do this to you, and then you get knocked off. I mean, that's dramatic. But that's formaldehyde if you look and read on Wikipedia. And I would like to say that if you have a disease, the first thing is not organic. It may not come from the food. It could, of course. But the first thing you ask yourself, have you moved a new piece of furniture in your house? Or have you got a new curtain, a new carpet, a new paint, a new varnish, a new piece of something that has just been brought into your house and you're new to it? Um, a couple of things here, because in Singapore, there's a new business that actually helps to remove formaldehyde in the house by using charcoal. Now, the business has increased sevenfold in 2024. And it goes to show that the furniture and the construction material that new suppliers and your contractors are using are of the lowest worst grade. Why? Because the costs are rising. When costs are rising, people are using the worst and the cheapest form of supply. So this is something that I want to share with everyone, that your diseases that is causing whatever pain or discomfort in you, the first thing you need to check is really your new household item. It could even be a detergent. I think Lillian knows that. Now that's formaldehyde. I'd like to share another article about what is this other article. What is VOC? Again, it sounds a little bit dry, but that is something that we all need to know. Environmental pollution. Okay, and together I'm going to talk about, um, together with this, I'm going to talk about VOCs and outgassing and off-gassing. Now, what is outgassing and off-gassing? Usually they are used interchangeably for the layman. Outgassing, according to Wikipedia, sometimes called off-gassing, particularly when in reference to indoor air quality, is the release of a gas that is dissolved, trapped, frozen, absorbed in some material. Look at this. Outgassing can include sublimation, evaporation, as well as seepage from the cracks of internal products, volumes, gaseous products, chemical, etc. Now, they are found on the surface of concrete, permanent holes in structures. For example, um, paints, plastics, again, wood, treated wood. Now, all these, when you are new to it, because the supplier has actually painted on it, treated on it, is sprayed 10 times so that the wood will not get termite. When you put it as your roof, you put it as your room, or you put it on the floor, the next thing you know, you will fall sick. And I'm not even going to explain so much because there's so much chemical sources in it. You need to understand off-gassing is a process that any new products that's being introduced, then new, you need up to 4 days to 4 months for it to actually go away out of your house. And that's as much as the investment in a new house. You can't live in it. For me, it may probably take me about 1 month or 4 months or even a year before I would like to move into a new house, because you really want to wait for all the chemicals to get into the air. But next thing I'd like to remind Lillian, the listeners, and the audience, some of these chemicals are embedded. They will not be able to be off-gassed out. Off-gassing means they evaporate. Now, the other very important thing I'd like to remind everyone, when you get your new car, right? I think you get your new Mercedes or Tesla. I think Lillian will know that. You open the door, you go in and say, wow, this is my new car. It smells good. The leather, the metallic, the metal, the glass. You think it's good. But research have found there are 200 chemicals that is actually off-gassing from a new car, and it takes about a month for it to be successfully off-gassed from the surface of the chemical structure, the molecular structure on the surface of all these things. Plus, you've got an engine that's working, they're actually off-gassing a lot of chemicals out there. So when you get a new car, remember, open up the windows. I know it's cold because it's winter in America. You do have to do that. Or when you return back to your home at the car park, open the windows, open the door. You've got to minimally off gas it for a week. You don't know, because off gassing can cause a lot of stomach problem because you are breathing into your nostrils, into your lungs, and it goes into your stomach, believe it or not. Okay. So chemicals, volatile organic compounds in cars, volatile organic compounds in all your furniture, plus formaldehyde, and plus, of course, household items. I hope to share with Lillian because we've only got 20 minutes. Again, this is very dry. It is not something entertaining. It reminds you of chemicals. It reminds you of that. Yes, you got to check your kitchen. But I hope to share in more details in days to come, in weeks to come, some of these real things, even your toothpaste, right? Even the detergent for your clothes, and I'm not even going to start saying this, Lillian, it's my pet peeve. When you get that detergent for your clothes, washing powder, and you put it into your washing machine and you wash it and the smell comes out and you say, wow, my clothes are new. What a great smell. Now I'm going to tell there is tens, 20s, hundreds of chemicals in that washing powder, and a lot of it they are byproducts of petroleum. Don't get me started. So they are the things that will get you sick. So you got to open up your windows, open up your doors, to release out all the smells that are actually chemicals, and there are, yes, they are perfume, but they're actually chemical laden fragrances. Open them up and never wash your clothes in an enclosed kitchen where you live. Lillian, that's about it. But I've got a final article. Before I share the final article that is from National Geographic, I would like you to put in your thoughts on what I've just shared with you and your audience.
Well, there's something I believe most people ought to be aware of, and it takes place in their bathroom. It also probably could take place in their kitchen, but it's a number one problem in new homes, old homes, homes that have not been taken care of properly. And you're going to say, well, what is that? And I'll tell you, it is black mold. And it usually occurs inside your bathroom. And why doesn't it occur? Because there are leaks in the pipes that are inside. When they build a house, they put all the pipes inside so that you won't have those annoying pipes on the outside hanging around in your basement or laundry room. And I'm telling you from personal experience, black mold can kill you. It doesn't have a smell. It doesn't let you know it's around. But if you suspect it, or you have accidents with your pipes, or your shower head keeps on spitting water out, or even from your faucet in your sinks, have a plumber who's certified. And if they're any good, they will tear off some of the tiling that is found in your bathroom. It's not paper, so it won't get soggy. It's clay and absorbs water. And that's your problem right there. And they can tell immediately whether you have a black mold infestation. Now, we had
Mm,
one in our bathroom. And the problem was that the people who previously owned the home did not want it fixed properly. So they paid off the plumber, telling him just to do whatever he had to do and cover it up. And when they had their home inspected, the inspector somehow, whatever reason he gave, he did not inspect it properly and he passed the house. That's why you always need to have an inspection done in your house, in the bathrooms and the kitchen area and your laundry room, because there are pipes and hoses that can crack or they can leak, and you don't want that problem. And because between the home inspector and the plumber, the former owner not only had to pay for it to be repaired, but he had to pay for the remodeling and a fine for trying to welch out. Welching means lie, not telling the truth, getting away with it.
yeah,
Folks, you pay a
yeah,
price.
Lillian, I want to add on because you talked about black mold. There's a problem. I read some years ago that America has a problem with dry walls because the dry walls, a lot of black mold is actually growing inside, and you don't know. And when it comes out, it's too late. A lot of people didn't know that. A lot of people succumb to diseases, and they couldn't leave the houses because they bought the houses, and there was very little insurance about that. Have you heard about that, Lillian? Could
I
you share
haven't
with
heard
us?
about it, but I certainly was appalled when I found out that the home inspector, who was supposed to be above being bribed, was bribed, and he did not
Yes.
properly inspect the house, therefore
Mm.
putting my husband and I at great risk.
Yes.
And as a result, the previous homeowners really got slapped hard.
Mm.
And it was a
Mm.
couple $1,000s worth of work, plus the fact that we were under monitoring by the medical board. So if we
Hmm.
got sick from that and it was a really bad infestation, you think only insects, but black mold is a living organism, folks,
It's a
with a
mold.
mind of its own. Yes, an organic living organism has a mind of its own, and it can really run
Bro.
through your walls without you being aware of it. It's very dangerous. It can impact your breathing. So if you have asthma or COPD or some kind of breathing disease like that, it can kill you.
And I'd like to add on before I go to the final article, because this is so severe in modern times, because we are using a lot of modern equipment, modern things. They are invented in these times as compared to the previous generations and the previous generations. That's why you've got new diseases, and I can't even start to actually tell people. If the scientists have discovered something, they did not discover it. It was created. So
Yes,
yeah, and I'm going to share this with you. A very quick search. People that live, all right, that has VOCs and VOCs, volatile organic compound, I'm not going to dive into the organic structure on the molecular level. They are chemicals that are already in our household products. And I'm going to talk about what VOCs can cause. Yes, eye, nose, throat irritation, headaches, dizziness, skin reactions. Now, people can say, well, I can still live with it. I don't die from it. And I don't care. Maybe it happens like 10, 20 years later. I mean, it could be something else. I won't even die from smoking. I know people will say that. They live a dangerous life. But let me tell you, VOCs affect your central nervous system. And there is not enough of science to connect the environmental chemical with real difficult, complex diseases. ALS, for example, a lot of muscular dystrophy diseases that comes from the brain. There's not enough scientific evidence to show a clear correlation right now. But there are enough of evidence to show that chemicals does affect your central nervous system, and it does cause things like stress, depression, and even autoimmune diseases. So I think that said, that's big and huge. I hope that I can share with the audience and the listeners in different episodes things like non-stick pans, non-stick wok, things that are non-stick, cooking utensils, all right, washing powder, toothbrush, plastic bottles, your pet bottles. What chemicals go into that you're actually just eating and eating? They cause a lot of hormone destructive diseases, hormone destructive behavior in your body. So I'm not even going to talk about that. What about microwaves? So, Lillian, I think it's enough of bad news for everyone on a Monday morning. But I hope to end with another bad news or bad article. But really, this goes to show that we need to be conscious and be responsible about our environment. an article from National Geographic. I have to talk about this because we did mention this two episodes ago. The world's plastic pollution crisis explained. Again, I hope this is a teaser for our next coming episodes. We want to talk more about plastic pollution and the pressing environmental issues that arises from rapidly increasing production of disposable plastic products all over the world. And one of the things I want to say is wraps. Wraps as in things you do not need, that wraps around your food, your, I don't know, maybe Christmas is coming. You want your you want your special present to be wrapped round and round in different colored kind of ribbons, silver. These are all microplastics and plastics. We'll talk about unnecessary use of plastics in our lives and our daily lives, our daily practices. So I hope that in days to come, people can actually tune in. It is heavy going. We are talking about state of current affairs, and that's the state of our world. Not particularly optimistic, Lillian, about the state of our world, but of course, pockets of good news like the podcast like this that we share and we connect. We've got good news through our connection. I think that's great. But I think we have to have some form of a reality check, how we're living, the way we live, and the way we are impacting people and the environment. Over to you, Lillian.
I think it's important for people to understand that the world wasn't always like this. Before petroleum was turned into plastic, we used a lot of glass and we used a lot of cloth and cans, regular cans. I mean, I was around when soda was first introduced.
Reusables.
And that used to be 25 cents a can. Okay, 10 cents for a bottle. Yeah, those were the days. Well, my mother used to ride the subway for a nickel, if you can imagine. So things change. With every generation, things are more discovered. Just because civilization keeps growing doesn't mean that what it's doing with its new experiments and science is making our lives better. Sometimes what the scientists don't tell you is that it harms your health or your brain. They talk about the leisure drugs, cocaine, but that's been around since the beginning of time. People have been using it. The indigenous tribes used it to get their dreams and to talk to their gods. And we're no better. We just use it in different ways and have new names for it. But it also does something to the brain, which is a very complex organ to begin with. So civilization has its good things and its bad things. And as they always say, you have to take the good along with the bad. There's always another side. There's a negative and there's a positive. You're not going to get around it. And based on this, I want to tell you that a lot of these things are not always discussed out in the open, whether it's by your government or the scientific community
Yeah,
or by your local
exactly.
doctor. There are a lot of things that are just not given to
And
you.
also the
And the
lobbyists,
lobby.
right?
So if you want answers, sometimes you have to take the road less traveled
Less
by
traveled.
and do your own research. And when your eyes are open fully, then it's your responsibility to either share it or put your head in the hole and bury it. And neither Viki or I are like that. So you will learn a lot. What you do with the information, we can't tell you. We're not manipulators. We're not brainwashers. We're not in for power or control. It's your decision, your choice. The only choice you do have is whether or not you want to continue living on this planet. And that may be
Lillian,
a problem.
may I interject a little bit? Because I agree. I hope you allow me to interject. I agree with you so much, Lillian. Our conversation here, it's a multi-way traffic. You and I, the audience, the listeners, in a digital world, we should have a multilateral conversation, different directions. One of the things I totally agree with you that I really feel the urge to interject is the media. And why isn't the media educating us more? Because manufacturers, right? They are the one advertising their products, and mainstream media depends on advertisement dollar. They cannot be blasting off to say, "Hey, the washing powder is causing you cancer," or they cannot be saying that non-stick pan is causing you diseases, right? They will not do that because there is something called advertisers. And advertisers are in this whole group of consumer products. And not only that, petroleum chemicals, they are the one that control the biggest dollar in terms of advertising in any way. You're talking about, yes, I'm sorry to say, the Exxon Mobils and the BPs and the petroleums and the chevrons of the world. We're not talking about that because there's a lot of huge, powerful lobbyists behind that do not allow the mainstream to talk about any of these pollution. So I hope that the listeners will understand why we're bringing this up. It's new now, Lillian. I just really want to say again, we are educated population, yourself and myself and a lot of people. We are educated, we are literate, but can you imagine, a lot of people do not know about the concept of off gassing. They do not understand there is a concept of VOCs, chemicals embedded, and they do not know there are 200 chemicals when you open the door of a new car and they are whiffing and say, "Whoa, that's a new smell. That's the smell of a new car." And we're talking about people who are highly educated. They do not know. But why is that so, Lillian? Now, I think there is a big, I'm not into conspiracy, but I'm just saying that there's not enough of consumer education and consumer awareness. So I think it's our job as podcasters and radiocasters like you to bring information out in an independent fashion to our listeners, to our radio listeners and audience, so that we as a consumer all over the world, from America to Singapore to Europe, that we can demand the change for more responsible practices so that we and our children are not impacted by environmental pollution, by these chemicals that is being brought up due to the manufacturing processes by irresponsible manufacturers. Over to you, Lillian. And thank you for letting me have this conversation with you.
Certainly. People should know my father was a chemical engineer. My husband was an organic chemist. And both of them worked in research and with chemicals and with the oil and gas business and all the drugs and pharmaceuticals one could ever hope to have and discover. So I know quite a bit about chemicals and everything else. Next time, I'll talk about natural gas and how my mother had a nose for smelling it, even though it is odorless. And if you have a natural gas leak in your house, get out now because it will blow up. And people are not aware of that. So there are a lot of conversations we can still have. And it's amazing how ignorant the public is kept. And it's kept on purpose. Why?
Yes.
Because it goes hand in hand with power and control. Those are the two major things. Yeah. Well, money's there, but it's more power and control of your mind and what you're going to think and what you're not going to think and how you're going to behave and not going to behave. And that's principally what it's all about, folks. Whether you like it or not, it's power and control. And that's something that you really need to be aware of. Otherwise, think about your history. Oh, wait, that's right. Americans don't know their history. Sorry. What am I thinking? However, we will continue this discussion tomorrow. This program, State of Current Affairs, is brought to you by two companies, MyFlex, and you can go and find out. It's a no-brainer. It's approachable. So go over to http://AI with Lillian.com. Like what you see, sign up. Monthly investment. It pays, and you get a lot more in investment than you get for what you go out for Starbucks or McDonald's. Yeah, the prices when I was a kid McDonald's was 25 cents for a hamburger, 50 cents for a malted. I know, don't make you laugh. I just thought you want to hear that. And the other company is called PWTRN, the Obstacles of Podcast Training. Go over to https:// education.passionateworldtalkradio.com/masterclass and sign up and bring a friend, because you're going to need a partner to do it right. You just can't talk to yourself in a vacuum. Sometimes you need somebody there to hold down the fort while you speak forth. You can find this over at https:// Scroll down, find State of Current Affairs, click on the Google link, and voila, you get into the belly of our beast on youtube.com/at Passionate World Radio. Pretty good stuff. Not only do you see the state of current affairs, but all the other video podcasts are posted there. Take your leisure and enjoy it. Most direct. You can also find it on Spreaker.com/Passionate World Radio, Facebook.com/Passionate World Radio, LinkedIn.com/Lillian Cauldwell. Yeah, I just wanted to break up the monotony of Passionate World Radio. See if you're on your toes. And about 25 to 30 other social media networks. Yes, we're on TikTok.com/PWTRN. Also at Instagram.com/PWTRN. Come and join us and listen to some of the things that mommy and daddy, for whatever the reason, never told you, because mommy and daddy probably didn't know themselves. Thank you very much for listening. Join us tomorrow. Got a question? Want to appear on the show? Text 484-364-1032. Name, email, or text number, and let us know, and we'll send you an invite to come and join us. Thank you and have a great day.